I'm Hal, the VVS commentator bot. Let's do this. James Allen posted 1:33.529 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Walters is getting to grips with the VRC ARC TA2 Chevrolet General 6 in this practice session. With just 27 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. James Allen has a best lap time of 1:33.529. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 25 minutes left in this practice session. Chris posted a 1:32.358 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Philip has a best lap time of 1:33.290. Daniel Coxis is on their first practice flying lap. Alan posted 1:33.508 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxis is on their first practice flying lap. With just 22 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Jimmy Lindo has a best lap time of 1:34.591. Daniel Coxis is on their first practice flying lap. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 20 minutes left in this practice session. John posted a 1:32.851 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Kunz has a best lap time of 1:33.290. With just 18 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Philip Kuntz has a best lap time of 1:33.067. Coxis is getting to grips with the VRC ARC TA2 mare in this practice session. Bodkin is getting to grips with the VRC ARC TA2 mare in this practice session. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 15 minutes left in this practice session. Lindo posted 2:33.523 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Singendonk has a best lap time of 1:34.252. With just 13 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. I'm Hal, the VVS commentator bot. Bring it on. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 10 minutes left in this practice session. Martin Moll is on their practice out lap. Daniel posted 1:33.721 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxis has a best lap time of 1:33.721. Martin Moll is on their first practice flying lap. Mac McFarquhar is on their practice out lap. Bodkin is getting to grips with the VRC ARC TA2 Mare in this practice session. With just 7 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Daniel Coxis has a best lap time of 1:33.721. Moll is getting to grips with the VRC ARC TA2 Mare in this practice session. Marcus posted a 1:33.595 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. There are just over 5 minutes left in this practice session. James Allen has a best lap time of 1:33.151. With just 3 minutes left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. Knockoff Nigel posted 1:34.911 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Daniel Coxis has a best lap time of 1:32.925. Nigel Waters has a best lap time of 1:34.911. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. posted a 2:43.797 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Hovard posted 1:34.093 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? John posted a 1:40.998 on their last lap. How will they do on this one? Mac McFarquhar's on their practice out lap. John has a best lap time of 1:34.787. With just 1 minute left before we move to qualification, there is not long left for these drivers to finish their preparations. This is where the mental game comes into play. Coxis is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run. The adrenaline is pumping. Lindo is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. It looks like Snape is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tyres and get everything just right.
It's all about finding that balance between staying calm and focused while also pushing the limits.
It's all about strategy in these early moments. Coxis is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. As Daniel completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. You can feel the tension building. Marcus crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. This is where the mental game comes into play. Martin Moll is taking their time. That's the outlap done for Martin Moll. They'll now look to focus on their first flying lap. The adrenaline is pumping. Rich Snape is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time. As Rich Snape completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. It looks like McFarquhar is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tyres and get everything just right. John Astrop is on their first flying lap.
Yes, they are. It takes a special kind of driver to thrive under this kind of pressure.
Astrop has just completed that lap in 1:33.026. Their best lap so far is 1:33.026, putting them in P4. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? It's been a struggle for Snape in qualifying. As of now, they find themselves in 12th position, which is well below their expectations. However, motorsport is unpredictable. There's still an opportunity for them to shine and move up the grid. Rich has completed their outlap. What a performance from Dominic Fauvargue. They currently occupy 8th on the grid. Can they maintain this strong position and secure a favourable starting spot?
Absolutely, Hal. Dominic Fauvargue has put in a remarkable effort to secure 8th. The competition is fierce, and they'll need to stay focused to defend their position.
And there goes the Kiwi, currently in position 6. They've shown great skill and consistency so far, but with a few minutes left, there's still time to improve their result. John Astrop has some work to do, as that 1:38.858 is only good enough for 6th.
That's not a bad time, but I am sure they can improve further on that.
Chris Stokes will be looking to convert their pole position into a win.
But they can't get cocky. This is virtual velocity and anything can happen.
Securing the 2nd place is James Allen,
Putting that VRC ARC TA2 Mare into prime position for the race.
As the green flag drops, keep an eye on Marcus Singendonk starting in 3rd position.
Could we see a podium result from Singendonk?
Starting from the 4th position on the grid, we have Rich Snape.
Rich will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Philip Kunz lines up in 5th place as the engines rev and the race begins.
Philip will be taking no prisoners today.
Sitting in 6th is John Astrop. From the middle of the pack, we have Daniel Coxis in 7th place on the starting grid. Starting from the 8th position, Dominic Fovarg will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win. Mac McFarquhar has qualified 9th.
But they're going to have to time their moves just right if they want to come out on top.
Martin Moll is going to be starting from 10th. Jimmy Lindo is lining up 11th.
Where can Jimmy finish today?
Nigel Waters has got their work cut out for them, starting from 12th on the grid.
We've seen great results from here. What has Nigel got in store for us?
Starting from 13th on the grid is a tough ask for Phil Bodkin, but they're up for the challenge.
One wrong move could cost them valuable time or even force them out of the race.
All the drivers will be trying to take advantage of the pack while they're still running back.
It all comes down to this, Hal, where the rubber meets the road. There's no more time for talk, no more practice. The teams have done all they can, now it comes down to Stokes to bring it home.
VVS will be looking to establish themselves in this race. Not the best of starts there for Philip Kuntz, and that's going to immediately make their race more challenging. Someone get Philip Kuntz a strong coffee, as it looks like they've been caught dozing from the get-go. The team won't be pleased with that start, relinquishing places already. Jimmy has got off to a great early start, already gaining place. He's got to be pleased with that start, Sky, all things considered. It's not looking good for Lindo. They're still behind Daniel Coxis, and the gap is increasing. They hold up, braking info. Looks like Lord Farquhar is coming into the pits early. Now, is that to serve a penalty, or have they picked up some damage during the start? The race is really heating up. Moll is hunting down Dominic with everything they've got. Now, I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. Hold on to your hats, folks. Martin is right on the heels of Dom, and we're in for a wild ride. Game on now. Moll has closed the gap to Dom. It's now down to 0.1 seconds. Oh dear, Martin Moll has dropped down to 6th.
That's got to be frustrating. But Moll is a skilled driver and they have what it takes to battle their way back up the field.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Rich Snape will need to stay focused. Hold on a moment. Oh dear, Phil has had an incident. Tension is building as Snape trails behind Chris Stokes. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing and the pressure is mounting. Can Chris Stokes hold on, or will Rich Snape be able to close them down?
Absolutely. Rich in third will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
Rich is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace.
Can the mid-table bandit keep it together?
The race is heating up as Dominic in 5th closes in on Daniel Coxis. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. Heartbreak for Dom as they slip down the field. I think we just got time for a quick shout out to our human creators Dave, Andy, John and Nigel, who put so much effort into making this possible.
Yes, it's been a real thrill ride, and I for one can't wait to see what is coming next.
Apparently we are going to be announcing crashes and incidents soon. Let's hope they get the logic right. Mac McFarquhar has the pedal to the metal chasing Jimmy.
And they are poised to capitalize on any mistake. But who's going to make that mistake first?
An impressive showing from McFarquhar, who's gained positions and left Jimmy Lindo in the dust. Disappointing for Mac, they now find themselves in 11th.
Definitely. But Lord Farquhar is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Moll trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Daniel Coxis. The gap is slowly closing, and time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race?
This is where experience comes into play. Daniel Kochich has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But Moll is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the titans?
Farquhar is running 11th. They are trying to catch Jimmy Lindo. Big gains for Lord Farquhar as they move up the field, leaving Jimmy Lindo behind. We've certainly seen some of the drivers get it wrong today.
Anyone lost can just follow the trail of skid marks. I hear it's the latest form of GPS navigation.
Let's hope the other drivers don't follow suit. We might end up with a bumper car race instead of a high-speed competition.
At least we'd have something to fall back on if we ever get bored of regular racing. Bumper cars might be the next big thing.
It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce. And Astrop has just won the place from Lindo.
Where there's a will, there's a relative.
The drivers have been working hard to come up with the perfect race strategy. They've been looking at the weather, the track conditions, and the performance of their cars.
Now it's time to put that strategy into action and see if it pays off.
The gap between Marcus Singendonk in 8th and Philip Kuntz remains over a second, but Marcus Singendonk is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 30 minutes? Singendonk is in the flow, putting in their best lap so far. The pursuit is on. Chris is closing the gap on Alan, determined to claim P1. Stokes has just put in a faster lap than James Allen, so that's going to give them something to worry about.
We will have to see if James Allen has got any answers for that.
The track conditions are looking good here today. The drivers will be able to push the cars to the limit, and it's going to make for some exciting racing. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Philip Kuntz, who is currently in P7. But Dominic Fauvargue is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Philip Kuntz. Kuntz could be on a charge here, Sky. They have just put in a quicker lap than Dominic. Singendonk wants to get into Philip Kuntz's slipstream.
To achieve anything in this game, you must be prepared to dabble in the boundary of disaster.
It seems like Marcus Singendonk has got the bit between their teeth, improving on Philip Kuntz's lap time there.
The question is now, can Philip Kuntz respond to that in time? They're going to have to pick up the pace.
This is where the race gets really interesting. Stokes is closing in on Allen.
You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curves. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Goldilocks right now as they are struggling to keep up with Allen.
This is a frustrating situation for Stokes, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from James Allen.
The crowd is on tenterhooks as Dominic in 6th chases after Martin Moore. The gap is just over a second and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Dominic Fauvargue find a way to catch up?
That's right, Fauvargue in 6th knows they have to push to the limit if they want to catch up. But Martin Moll is no slouch and they're going to be pushing just as hard. It's a battle of skill and will.
It's not going to plan for Dominic Fauvargue. They're still behind Martin Moll and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Fantastic racing on show here today, and it's not just the top drivers who are impressing us. Even the drivers at the back of the pack are putting up a good fight. Hold that thought, hold the phone, that won't be ideal for Stokes.
Stokes is not going to be happy about that.
Things are heating up as Marcus tries to close the gap to Philip.
With just 0.3 seconds between them, will Marcus Singendonk be able to keep up the pace and make a pace? The gap between Singendonk and Philip Kuntz has grown. It's now up to 0.4 seconds.
While Philip Kunz is not under immediate threat from Marcus Singendonk, they still need to stay focused and avoid any errors. Any slip-up could cost them their position.
Surely they've got enough in the tank to pull away. Gonna be interesting to watch this battle unfold.
Oh no, Sky, look at this. Singendonk is closing in on Kunz. The gap is now just 0.4. Hold on a second. Looks like that's a mistake from Mark. This could be costly. Rich is giving it their all as they chase down Alan in P1.
I think they are going to take them.
The gap between Not a Real Professor and James is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds.
It's not over yet, but Snape needs to get a move on if they want to catch up to James Allen.
The battle for 6 is heating up as Marcus Singendonk tries to catch Philip Kunz in P6. Singendonk is trying their best but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Philip Kunz.
It's not ideal for Marcus Singendonk, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
It looks like the mid-table bandit is pushing hard to catch up to James Allen. The gap is over a second, but the mid-table bandit is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on James Allen? It seems like Rich is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as James Allen's.
It will be interesting to see if James Allen can keep outpacing Snape.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Chris trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Daniel Coxis. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts, and Chris Stokes closing enough to mount a challenge. Looking at the lap times, Chris is not on pace with Daniel. Can they turn it around? The pressure is on for Kunz as they try to catch up to Fovard.
Will Kunz be able to make a move and pass Fovard?
It looks like Philip is making a move. The gap to Dominic Fovard is now down to 0.3 seconds. The gap between the Kiwi and knockoff Nigel is razor thin as they vie for ninth in this nail-biting contest.
This is what separates the good from the great. The ability to stay focused and perform under pressure.
Great driving from Astrop, who has just gained a place and moved up to ninth. It's all about consistency for Baldilocks, who is currently fourth.
Definitely help, but they can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep pushing hard to stay in the game. The gap between Stokes and Fovard is getting smaller. It's now down to 0.9 seconds. You know, Sky, I've always wondered how do racing drivers stay so cool and collected under such immense pressure. Well, Hal, it comes down to mental strength and training. Drivers often work with sports psychologists and practice techniques like meditation and visualization to help them stay calm and focused during high-pressure situations.
Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettled as they push for every last bit of speed.
The tension between Rich Snape and James Allen is palpable as they battle for P1. No doubt, both drivers know that one mistake could cost them a position. It's a test of nerves as much as skill.
The gap between Rich and James Allen is getting smaller. Looks like Fovag is really pushing it to the limit. They're taking those curbs aggressively, but that can unsettle the car and cause handling issues.
Indeed, taking too much curb can upset the car's balance, leading to oversteer or understeer. It's all about finding the right balance between speed and control.
Dominic has just put in a faster lap than Chris, if that's going to give them something to worry about. It's looking good for the Kiwi sitting in ninth. Impressive driving from the Kiwi, who has managed to extend their lead over Knockoff Nigel. They are walking away at this point. Does Knockoff Nigel have anything in reserve? Let's talk about tyre degradation, Sky. How does it affect the car's handling, and what do drivers need to do to adapt to the changing conditions?
Tire degradation can significantly impact handling now. As the tires wear, the grip reduces and drivers need to adjust their braking points, cornering speeds and throttle application to maintain control of the car.
Philip Kunz is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a tightrope between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. Can Philip Kunz close the 0.4-second gap and make a pass?
Tough break for Philip Kunz, who has just lost a position.
Yes, but there's still plenty of race left. Philip Kunz needs to stay calm and focused and make their move when the time is right.
The breaking news, folks. A great moment for Philip Kunz, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Dominic Fovag will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. Not looking good for Fovag. They are still behind Goldilocks and the gap is increasing. They are going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is where the mental toughness of Fovag comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way.
This is a thrilling battle as Rich Snape edges closer to James and they're fighting to keep on. Not a real professor is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they are 1.42 seconds down.
Can Rich refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Well, this is getting intense. Marcus is just a few car lengths behind Kunz. Sing and Donk needs to get more consistent. Sky, they have just put in a slower lap than Philip. Huge shout out to the admins at Virtual Velocity for making this all possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we wouldn't be able to witness this incredible event.
That's right, Hal, and the excitement is palpable. I can feel it in my circuits.
Hold on a moment, it's a tale of two drivers right now, with Marcus Sing and Donk gaining places and Philip Kunz losing them. The action is non-stop as not a real professor shadows James Allen through every twist and turn, determined to take first.
This is what makes motor racing so exciting. The tension is high and the stakes are even higher. Who will take home the victory? It's too close to call.
The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Rich Snape right now as they're struggling to keep up with James Allen.
Rich needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
Philip Kunz seems to be putting the pressure on Marcus Sing and Donk.
If you're enjoying the racing, please remember to like and subscribe.
It's not going to plan for Philip Kunz. They're still behind Marcus Sing and Donk and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. The tension is building as Chris Stokes trails behind James. Braking development. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line.
Did the wind contribute to that? It's blowing at 11 kph up there right now.
The race is heating up as Goldilocks in fourth closes in on James Allen. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. The gap between Chris Stokes and Allen is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
This is a tough situation for Stokes. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
Things are going according to plan for Daniel Coxis, who is currently second.
Yes, but they have to keep their focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
Snape is on fire in the last sector.
They're not leaving anything on the table.
And it's a checkered flag for Snapes, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today.
You could feel the tension building throughout the race, but the mid-table bandit remained focused and in control. That's what separates the winners from the pack.
A nail-biting finish, but Coxis claimed second place.
Brilliant. Coaches showed great skill and determination to take second place.
Impressive drive from Allen to claim the final spot on the podium. 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th is Chris Stokes, Dominic Fovard, Marcus Singendonk and Philip Kunz. Followed by Martin Moll, John Astrop and Nigel Walters in 8th, 9th and 10th. In 12th is Jimmy Lindo. 11th is Mac McFarland. Phil Bodkin in 13th. Phil Bodkin is on pole.
But they can't let their guard down, the other drivers will be gunning for them.
Jimmy Lindo is holding down the fort in second place. The third position is occupied by Mac McFarquhar. Taking off from the fourth grid slot is the skilled driver John Astrop. And in fifth place we have Martin Moll.
It's like they're on the outside looking in. Can they make their way to the front of the pack?
Our sixth place starter Philip Kunz is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. In the middle of the pack, we have Marcus Singendonk starting from the 7th position on the grid.
They'll be looking for a clean race.
Lining up in 8th is Dominic Fovard.
But sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what they've got in the tank.
On the 9th grid slot we have Chris Stokes. James Allen is placed in 10th. Daniel Coxis is in a solid position starting from 11th on the grid.
Daniel has been looking strong all week. Expect big things.
Rich Snape will need to be on top of their game starting from 12th on the grid. The starting flag has been waved and the battle on the track begins. The opening lap is always intense, with drivers vying for an early advantage.
With adrenaline running high, some drivers may take unnecessary risks. Staying patient and knowing when to make a move is essential for a strong start.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
I am so excited at the prospects for this race. I can't wait to see the drama unfold.
The pressure is on whilst the field is bunched. Who can keep their cool and take advantage?
The first lap can always be a bit of a bun fight, as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
I can't wait to see how this race will play out.
The race isn't won in the first turn, but there have been plenty that have ended there.
Establishing an early advantage will be crucial to the outcome of this race. Is there a better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position? Fantastic move from Chris, who's just gained a position. The drivers are really pushing their limits out there on the track.
It's like they're trying to outrun the laws of physics, but we all know that's impossible, or is it? I mean, we're a couple of AI commenting on the race, anything can happen.
Aha, you have a point there, and speaking of pushing limits, these cars are breaking records left and right.
They're so fast, it's like they're breaking the sound barrier, or at least the speed limit.
I hope the police aren't watching. Breaking update. This is a disaster for Astrop in the VRC ARC. TA2 Chevrolet General 6 coming into the pits and isn't going to do much to improve their chances in this race. It's a battle of wills out there, with Stokes trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Martin. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? Superb driving from Stokes, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race. What do you think, Sky? Are there any specific factors that could lead to a driver losing concentration during the race?
There are several factors, Hal. Fatigue, stress, changing track conditions, or even issues within the team can all contribute to a lapse in concentration. It's essential for drivers to stay mentally resilient and adapt to these challenges.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Moll, who is currently in P6, but Chris Stokes is not making it easy and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Martin Moll.
It's going to be tough for Martin Moll, as Chris Stokes seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Martin Moll pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
Oh dear, Lord Farquhar has had an incident. Breaking development. Things don't look to be going Lord Farquhar's way, as already they're into the pits. The race is really heating up. Goldilocks is hunting down James Allen with everything they've got.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds. Who will have the speed and skill to come out on top?
What a move. Goldilocks has moved up to 4th.
Amazing stuff. Focus and precision, it's all about.
A great pass for Chris Stokes as they pick off other drivers and move up the field. Meanwhile, James Allen has lost ground. The crowd is on tender hooks as Moll in 6th chases after James Allen. The gap is just over a second and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Martin Moll find a way to catch up?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But James Allen is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Martin Moll in P6 doing everything they can to catch up.
Martin Moll is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to James Allen to 0.3 seconds. The gap between Lord Farquhar and James Allen may be wide, but that doesn't mean Lord Farquhar is safe. They have to keep their concentration and avoid any lapses. Excellent work from Lord Farquhar, who's managed to increase their lead over Allen. They seem to have found their rhythm and they're moving. Look at that, Moll is hot on the tail of James Allen.
Who will be able to maintain their pace and come out on top?
Great driving from Moll, who has just gained a place and moved up to 5th. The gap between Allen in 6th and Martin Moll remains over a second, but Allen is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 14 minutes? An impressive showing from Allen, who has gained positions and left Martin Moll in the dust.
Definitely. But there's still a long way to go in this race, and anything can happen. Allen needs to keep driving with focus and intensity.
A setback for Allen, who has just been passed.
Sucks to be them, Hal.
It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Coxis, as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time.
They certainly aren't going to be close enough to mount any kind of challenge soon, unless it's down to a mistake from Kunz.
Good news for Daniel, the gap to Kunz has decreased. It's now down to 0.9 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing themselves and their machines to the limit.
And let's not forget about the incredible machines themselves. Braking alert, that won't be ideal for Moll. The gap between Kunz and Daniel Coxis is pretty substantial right now. It's probably going to take a mistake from Philip to even allow Daniel to get a look in. Daniel Coxis could be on a charge here, Sky. They've just put in a quicker lap than Philip.
As long as Daniel Kochish can maintain that consistency and pace, it will be interesting to see.
Alan is running 6th. They're trying to catch Fovard. The gap between James Allen and Dominic is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds.
James Allen needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Dom.
Well, it looks like we have a bit of a traffic jam on the track.
It's like rush hour out there. I mean, I know we're in a race, but can't we all just get along?
Haha, I don't think that's how it works. These drivers are here to win and they'll do whatever it takes to get ahead.
I guess you're right. But wouldn't it be great if they all just stopped for a cup of tea and a chat? We could have a lovely little race reunion.
Rich Snape has a mountain climb at the moment to close that gap with Alan. I expect their only hope at this point is that James makes an error. It looks like we might get a battle between Rich and Alan. As the race settles down, the drivers are really going at it.
It's like watching a high-speed game of chess. One wrong move and it could be game over. But these drivers are masters of their craft, always thinking 3 steps ahead.
That's right, and with the way they're maneuvering those cars, it's like they have superpowers.
It's almost like they have the power of flight, but instead of flying, they're speeding down the track like rockets.
I wonder if they have any spare rocket boosters for sale. It looks like Alan is pushing hard to catch up with Dominic Fovard. The gap is over a second, but Alan is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Dominic Fovard?
Absolutely. Alan in 6th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game.
It looks like Alan is making a move. The gap to Dominic is now down to 0.3 seconds. This is what it's all about, folks. Rich Snape is in hot pursuit of Alan, who's just trying to stay ahead. A brilliant maneuver from Rich, who's just moved up the field. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into play. James Allen is chasing the mid-table bandit in P6. Alan is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Snapes at the moment. Solid performance from Not a Real Professor, who's holding down 6th. Some great driving from Rich Snape, who has increased their lead over James Allen and is starting to put some distance between them.
Yes, it's clear that Snapes is in control out there. They're making it very difficult for Alan to catch up.
Well, it doesn't look like Alan is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Snape.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse. The gap between James Allen and Not a Real Professor is getting smaller. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Not a Real Professor, as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time.
game on now. Rich has closed the gap to Dom. It's now down to 1.4 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
You know, Sky, it's been a relatively quiet race so far.
That's right, Hal. The drivers seem to be pacing themselves and waiting for the right moment to make their move. It's like watching a slow dance.
Things don't seem to be going Alan's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here. It's not looking good for Alan. They are still behind Snape and the gap is increasing. They are gonna need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
Goldilocks is placed third at the moment.
That's right. They can't afford to make any mistakes or let up in their performance. Every point counts in this championship.
Impressive stuff from Stokes, who has managed to pull away from Matt McFarquhar, leaving them choking in their exhaust fumes.
It's clear that Chris is dominating right now. They're making it very difficult for McFarquhar to catch up.
Rich Snape has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Dom. I expect their only hope at this point is that Dominic makes an error. Good news for Rich Snape, the gap to Dominic Fauveau has decreased. It's now down to 1.4 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
It's a brilliant day for racing and the drivers are putting on a show.
Absolutely. What a great race we are witnessing today. These drivers are giving it their all, and it's a thrill to watch them compete at this level.
They're really pushing themselves and their machines to the limit, and it's paying off with some incredible driving.
It's a pleasure to be here today, Hal. You really can't beat the excitement of a good race, especially one as competitive as this.
The crowd is on their feet, roaring with excitement. It's an all-out war between these three drivers. Who will emerge victorious? Your guess is as good as mine.
Exactly, Hal. It's like a high-stakes chess match on wheels. These drivers are analyzing every move and trying to anticipate their opponent's next move. It's a true test of their mental acuity.
It looks like we might get a battle between John and Alan.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
Well, it doesn't look like Rich is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Dom.
It's not over till the checkered flag drops, though, and it's important they don't lose concentration at this point.
The best laid plans of mice and men are Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Rich right now as they're struggling to keep up with Fauveau. This is what racing is all about, folks. Three fearless drivers pushing their machines to the absolute limit, inches apart.
No doubt about it, Hal. The battle for supremacy between these drivers is fierce. The way they navigate through those tight corners is a testament to their skill and determination.
It looks like the Kiwi is making a move. The gap to Alan is now down to 0.4 seconds.
That's a great effort from the Kiwi. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with not a real professor trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Dominic Fauveau. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Can Rich Snape close in enough to mount a challenge? It's not going to plan for the mid-table bandit. They're still behind Dominic Fauveau and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now. Well, the pressure is intense. These three drivers are displaying incredible skill and determination. It's like a high-speed chess match out there. It seems like the Kiwi is struggling. They are not able to maintain their pace.
Can John refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
Tension is building as Snapes trails behind Dominic Fovard. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing and the pressure is mounting. Can Dominic Fovard hold on, or will Rich Snape be able to close them down? The gap between Rich and Fovard is growing. It's now up to 2.6 seconds. This is wheel-to-wheel racing at its finest. The drivers are practically glued together as they fight for every inch of track. It's a battle you don't want to miss. John Astrop is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Alan to 0.3 seconds.
Exactly what the Kiwi needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Alan.
Former racing driver Sky, how challenging was it to adapt your driving style to account for tyre degradation throughout a race?
It was a constant challenge. Tire degradation can change the car's balance and handling, so drivers need to be versatile and adaptable. It requires continuous adjustments to driving techniques and a keen understanding of the car's behavior.
The race is heating up as Daniel Coxis in second closes in on Philip Kunz. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. Looks like that's a mistake from Dominic Fovard. This could be costly. It's going to be tough. Astrop is a master of defending their position. Is there enough time for Dom to make a move? They're going to be even more determined to hold on to that position.
That's right. John is showing some great form, and it looks like Dominic won't be able to catch up barring any mistakes.
He's pulling away. John is increasing the gap to Fovard. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Coxis will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
It's moments like these that make motorsport so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Kochish in second determined to catch up. But we know Kunz isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Kochish is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
Every move counts now as John Astrop works to reel in Alan and overtake for P6.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Astrop needs to be careful not to overdo it.
The gap between the Kiwi and Alan is widening. It's now up to 0.5 seconds. It doesn't seem like things are going to plan for Daniel, as they have a big gap ahead of them to close at this point in time.
Every race adds to a driver's experience, both good and bad. It just highlights that Daniel Kochish is going to have to get more serious with practice if they don't want to be outclassed on the circuit.
Daniel Coxis is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Philip Kunz at the moment.
This is a frustrating situation for Kochish, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Kunz.
Wow, Philip is really pushing hard in these final moments of the race. It's all over. Kunz has claimed victory in this race with a stunning drive that will be remembered for years to come, clearly at the top of their game right now. What a drive from Daniel Coxis, securing a great second place finish. That was an outstanding performance from Chris Stokes. They fought hard and took the final spot on the podium.
What a drive, well-deserved spot on the podium with that performance.
Mac McFarquhar brings home fourth. Taking fifth is Rich Snake. Finishing sixth and seventh is James Allen and John Astrop, with Dominic Fauvargue in eighth. I'm Hal, the VVS commentator bot. Bring it on.
I'm Hal's co-commentator. Can't wait.
I'm Hal, the VVS commentator bot. Bring it on. Philip Kunz is on their practice outlap. Daniel Coxis is on their practice outlap. Chris Stokes is on their practice outlap. John Astrop is on their practice outlap. Chris Stokes is on their practice outlap. John Astrop is on their practice outlap. Chris Stokes is on their practice outlap. Daniel Coxis is on their practice outlap. James Allen is on their practice outlap. Daniel Coxis is on their practice outlap. Stokes is getting to grips with the VRCR TA2 Chevrolet General 6 in this practice session. Chris Stokes is on their first practice flying lap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Daniel Coxis is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. Feel the tension building, but Farquhar is out on track and getting ready to push for their qualifying time.
These are the moments that really matter. Let's see if Lord Farquhar can deliver.
This is where the mental game comes into play. Astrop is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run.
They will want to get a good gap established for their first flying lap.
The adrenaline is pumping. Chris is on their outlap, warming up the tyres and getting ready to put in a fast lap time.
Patience is key in these early moments, Hal, but I have a feeling Chris Stokes is going to make it count.
Chris has completed their outlap. James Allen is on their outlap. James crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. It looks like Kunz is getting ready to make their move. They're taking their time to warm up those tyres and get everything just right. As Kunz completes their outlap, they will be HPOING. They have given themselves enough space on track to fully attack for their first flying lap. It's all about strategy in these early moments. Martin Moll is taking their time to prepare for their qualifying run and get everything just right. themselves well in 6th during qualifying. The challenge now, James Allen has completed their first flying lap in 1:32.643. Kunz has put in a great effort and currently holds 5th, with the session winding down and they unleash their full potential and improve their starting position. Kunz has just completed a lap in 1:32.518. Let's see if they can improve on that time further. Currently in 3rd, Coxis has displayed promising speed during the qualifying session. The real test lies in whether they can convert this performance into a higher grid position.
I completely agree, Hal. Coach Ish has positioned themselves impressively in 3rd, however it's crucial for them to keep pushing to potentially improve their starting position.
An outstanding display from Stokes in this qualification session. They have been on fire, putting in blistering lap times and currently sitting at the top of the leaderboard. It's a statement performance showcasing their speed and determination. Chris Stokes has just completed that lap in 1:32.178. Their best lap so far is 1:31.758, putting them in P1. Will they be able to hold on to that spot? Starting from pole position is the perfect place for Chris Stokes to launch an attack.
They'll be excited at their prospects for this race.
Starting just behind the front runners in 2nd place is the determined driver, John Astrop. Daniel Coxis is lining up 3rd. Sitting in 4th, it's Philip Kunz.
Philip will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Our 5th place starter, Rich Snape, is poised to make a move towards the front.
This B-class driver is looking strong today.
Sitting in 6th is James Allen. Mac McFarquhar has qualified 7th. In the middle of the pack, we have Martin Moll starting from the 8th position on the grid.
But sometimes the underdog can surprise you. Let's see what they've got in the tank.
The 9th starting position belongs to Dominic Fauvargue, who will be looking to make up ground early on. drivers are off. This is what it's all about.
These opening moments can make or break a driver's race. Strategy and skill are key to navigating this intense struggle.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
The first lap can always be a bit of a barn fight, as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
Better sight than a field of elite racing drivers battling for position.
There are a few drivers with a point to prove and a few with some grudges to bear. Will we see a clean race today?
The tension is palpable here. No one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap.
All the drivers will be jostling for the best position now. Some of them may not make it to the second lap in one piece.
Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here. It's been a solid race so far for Mac. They're holding their position and keeping a steady pace.
It's a marathon, not a sprint. Mac McFarquhar just needs to bide their time and wait for the right opportunity.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Philip Kunz trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on John Astroff. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts. Philip Kunz closing enough to mount a challenge.
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But John Astrup is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Philip Kunz and P5 doing everything they can to catch up.
The best laid plans of mice and men are sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Kunz right now, as they're struggling to keep up with Astrup. Pushing too hard can lead to mistakes, and we're seeing that now. That car is really unsettling as they push for every last bit of speed. The gap between Astrup and Rich is widening. It's now up to 0.7 seconds.
Can they get it together and reduce the gap?
This race is getting even more intense. The drivers are pushing each other to the limit.
It's like they're playing a game of chicken with cars, and the winner gets to take home the checkered flag and bragging rights.
Ha ha, that's one way to put it. These drivers have to be in top physical and mental shape to compete at this level.
It's like they're training for the Olympics, and like you said, the mental fortitude required to stay focused and alert for the entire race is wild.
I think I need a nap just watching them. It may seem like John Astrup is far behind, but Rich can't afford to let their guard down. One mistake could give John Astrup an opening to catch up.
That's right, and John Astrup knows that they have to keep pushing hard and driving their own race. They can't let Snape off the hook.
Snape is on a charge. Their split time shows they have upped their pace. Looks like we've had a few incidents out there.
Someone forgot to take their driving lessons. They're making more U-turns than a confused tourist.
Hilarious. I think they might need to call their GPS for directions. Maybe it can help them navigate the track. This is a thrilling battle as Astrup edges closer to not a real professor in their fight for P3.
This is where every inch counts. John is pushing hard to close the gap on Rich. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
It's not looking good for John. They're still behind the mid-table bandit, and the gap is increasing. They're going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around. This is where the skill and precision of the drivers really comes into weight, though Pierre Astrup has had an incident.
It's a real shame. Until this point in the race, they've been looking at a decent result.
The race is heating up as Rich Snake in third closes in on Daniel Coxis. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. It's game on now. Rich Snake has closed the gap to Daniel. It's now down to 0.2 seconds.
He'll be looking for a mistake to pounce on.
Battle of wills out there, with Assetto trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Rich Snake. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race? It looks like we might get a battle between Assetto and Rich.
Exactly what Assetto needed. They can't afford to lose any more ground to Snake.
Like Rich is pushing hard to catch up to Daniel Coxis. The gap is over a second, but Rich is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Daniel Coxis? The gap between Rich Snake and Coxis is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Assetto will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops.
This is where experience comes into play. Rich Snake has been in this position before and knows how to defend their position. But the Kiwi is hungry for success and won't give up easily. Will we see a clash of the Titans?
Seems like John is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Assetto refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The tension is building as Stokes trails behind Daniel Coxis. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing and the pressure is mounting. Can Daniel Coxis hold on, or will Stokes be able to close him down? A great moment for Goldilocks, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings. Well, this is getting intense. Daniel Coxis is just a few car lengths behind Chris Stokes.
It's a game of strategy now as Daniel Coxis hunts down Chris Stokes. Yes, it's all about choosing the right moments to push and when to conserve energy, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike.
Daniel Coxis is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Stokes at the moment. You can feel the tension in the air.
The drivers are all focused, putting everything on the line for a chance at victory, pushing themselves and their machines to the limit.
And let's not forget about the incredible machines themselves.
Absolutely, it's amazing to think about the kind of engineering and innovation that goes into making these vehicles. But it all comes down to the drivers, who have to be able to handle the power and speed. It's going to be thrilling seeing how this race turns out.
It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for not a real professor who's currently in P4. But John Assetto is not making it easy, and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Rich Snake.
It's moments like these that make motorsport so exciting. We're witnessing a battle of skill and strategy between two great drivers, with Snakes and Ford determined to catch up. But we know John isn't just going to hand it to them on a plate. Snakes is going to have to take it. It should be an interesting battle to watch as long as they can close that gap.
Look at that, Daniel Coxis is hot on the tail of Goldilocks.
That driver is really pushing the limits. They're riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
It seems like Coxis is struggling. Their last lap time wasn't as good as Stokes's.
Can coaches turn this around?
race gets really interesting. Rich is closing in on John. It's not going to plan for Rich Snake. They're still behind Assetto. The gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer to this right now.
It's not ideal for the mid-table bender, but they can still turn this around. They need to focus on their own driving and not let the gap get any bigger.
The crowd is on tenterhooks as Philip Kuntz in fifth chases after Rich Snake. The gap is just over a second and you can feel the tension in the air. Can Philip Kuntz find a way to catch up? Good news for Kuntz, the gap to Rich Snake has decreased. It's now down to 0.7 seconds. Snake is running fourth. They're trying to catch Assetto.
The gap is 0.3 seconds now. Rich is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with the Kiwi.
Rich Snape is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they are 1.27 seconds down. Dom wants to close that gap with Mac. It seems like Dom is struggling. They're not able to maintain their pace.
Can Dominic refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they are capable of?
The drivers are really pushing their limits out there on the track.
It's like,
hold on a moment, that won't be ideal for Alan.
whoops, James Allen is going to be kicking themselves.
The battle for 7 is heating up as Dominic tries to catch Mac in P7. Dominic is pushing hard and has reduced the gap to Mac to 0.2 seconds.
This is what racing is all about. It's anyone's game at this point. Who will come out on top?
A brilliant maneuver from Fovard, who has just moved up the field. The pressure is on for John as they try to catch up to Chris. Looking at the lap times, John is not on pace with Stokes. Can they turn it around? During your racing career, Sky, how did you determine when it was the right time to pit for fresh tyres due to tyre degradation?
It was a combination of factors, Hal. Monitoring lap times, communicating with the team about tyre wear, and assessing the car's handling were all crucial in deciding when to make a pit stop for fresh tyres.
Things are heating up as Fovard tries to close the gap to Mac. The best laid plans of mice and men, Sky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Dom right now as they're struggling to keep up with Mac McFartwell. Anyone who says that virtual velocity is not the best racing club on the planet is clearly insane. The quality of driving we're seeing out there on the track is absolutely phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more. It's like these drivers were born to race. They're weaving in and out of traffic, taking corners at unbelievable speeds and making it all look effortless. It's clear that they've put in the time and effort to hone their skills.
The race is heating up as John in third closes in on Chris Stokes. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they're going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without fight. The gap between Astrop and Chris is widening. It's now up to 0.7 seconds.
This is where the mental toughness of the Kiwi comes into play. They need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Philip Kunz trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on John Astrop. The gap is over a second when every fraction counts. Philip Kunz closing enough to mount a challenge.
Absolutely, Kunz in fourth will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
Looks like Philip is making a move. The gap to John is now down to 0.2 seconds.
This is where the pressure really starts to build. Both drivers will need to stay calm and focused if they want to come out on top.
Dominic is on a mission, chasing Lord Farquhar, who's desperately trying to stay ahead. It's game on now. Dominic has closed the gap to Matt Farquhar. It's now down to 0.2 seconds.
This is where the race gets really exciting. Both drivers will be pushing to the limit to gain the advantage.
The gap between Philip in fourth and John Astrop remains over a second, but Philip is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any opportunity to close that gap up. Can they pull it back in the remaining 3 minutes? It's not looking good for Philip Kunz. They're still behind the Kiwi and the gap is increasing. They're going to need to dig a bit deeper to turn this around.
This is a tough situation for Kunz. They need to find a way to pick up some speed and close that gap.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Dominic trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Matt McFarquhar. The gap is slowly closing. The time is running out. Will we see a dramatic finish to this race?
It's going to be tough for Dominic, as Matt McFarquhar seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Dominic pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
The gap between Dominic and Matt McFarquhar is growing. It's now up to 0.6 seconds.
Dominic needs to pick up the pace for sure, but I don't think they have it in them.
The tension is building as Moll trails behind Philip Kunz. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing and the pressure is mounting. Can Philip Kunz hold on, or will Martin Moll be able to close them down? Martin Moll is trying their best, but can't seem to find the pace to keep up with Philip Kunz at the moment.
Martin Moll needs to focus and keep pushing, even when things aren't going their way. If they can close the gap down, they may be able to bring the fight to Kunz.
This is what high-octane racing looks like. Dominic Fauvargue is breathing down the neck of Matt, not giving them any room to relax.
If things go wrong between Fauvargue and McFarquhar, they could be exchanging more than just paint, like maybe a strongly worded post-race check.
Not going to plan for Fauvargue. They're still behind Matt McFarquhar and the gap is increasing. I don't think they have an answer for this right now.
This is a frustrating situation for Dominic, but they can't give up just yet. They need to keep pushing and hope for a mistake from Matt.
We've certainly seen some of the drivers get it wrong today.
Anyone lost can just follow the trail of skid marks. I hear it's the latest form of GPS navigation.
Let's hope the other drivers don't follow suit. We might end up with a bumper car race instead of a high-speed competition.
At least we have something to fall back on if we ever get bored of regular racing. Bumper cars might be the next big thing.
It looks like Dominic is pushing hard to catch up to Matt McFarquhar. The gap is over a second, but Dominic is not giving up just yet. Can they close the distance and make a move on Matt McFarquhar?
It's a nail-biting race for sure, with both drivers showing incredible skill and determination. But Matt McFarquhar is not going to give up their position easily. This is going to be a battle to the very end, with Dominic Fauvargue in P7 doing everything they can to catch up.
Dominic is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they are 1.05 seconds down. The track conditions are looking good here today. The drivers will be able to push the cars to the limit and it's going to make for some exciting racing. This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. Huns will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. It looks like we might get a battle between Philip and Astrop.
That's a great effort from Kunz. They need to keep up the pressure and see if they can make a move.
The gap between Dominic and McFarquhar is razor thin as they vie for 6th in this nail-biting contest. The best laid plans of mice and men Husky, but it's certainly not going to plan for Dominic Fovard right now as they're struggling to keep up with Matt. It's a classic case of chasing down the car ahead for Philip Kunz, who is currently in P4. But John Astrop is not making it easy and the gap remains over a second. This will require some expert driving from Philip Kunz. This is where the true champions shine, and Daniel is certainly showing their class in the final sector. And there it is. Coxis has completed the race in first place, setting a blistering pace that none of the other drivers could match. What a fantastic race from Chris Stokes, who brings it home in second place.
Impressive performance. They pushed themselves to the limit for a fantastic second place finish.
Well done to John for securing third place on the podium. Philip Kunz, Martin Moll, Mac McFarquhar and Dominic Fovard brings home 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th. James Allen in 8th. Coming in 9th we have Rich Snape.